When daylight savings time starts and ends, sometimes people ask me if I enjoy that extra hour of sleep or how I was dealing with that lost hour of sleep. It's so anxious. There's so much anxiety walking into work because I know some asshole is going to ask me that question. Did you enjoy that extra hour of sleep? I don't know, bitch. We do it every fucking year. It's not a big deal. I don't like it when people have long fucking names. Like if your name's Elizabeth, there's 4 fucking syllables in that name. That's an unnecessarily long name. You gonna fucking die of old age by the time I call you out. Say, hey, Elizabeth. Oh no, she died. I just got back from the bathroom. I did a poop. A good poop too. Very healthy. Surprising considering I just got off a 4-day weekend. Took some vacation to read some books. And I ate a bunch of ice cream and meat. I think it's weird when people tell you what they want done with their body when they die. Like, I want you to take my body here to this special place and bury it under this. This shit doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, you're dead. Who gives a fuck? My mom told me when I was younger, she wanted me to spread her ashes on top of this mountain. And I said, okay, mom. But I ain't gonna do that shit. I think someone asked me that one time. Said, what do you want done with your body when you die? I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna be dead. I'm not gonna know what happens to it one way or the other. Do whatever you want with it. Eat it if you want. I don't give a fuck. To be honest, if I had to choose between heaven and hell, I would choose hell all the way. Because all you do in heaven is just pray for eternity. And that sounds boring as fuck. There ain't gonna be no hookers or drugs or anything in heaven. You can't do cocaine in heaven. You can't get fucked up in heaven. And I know you're thinking, well, the alternative is you burn forever. But that'd be fine. Because you get used to it after a while. Because you can't die. So imagine if you were a fish in space and you had never felt gravity before, and then you got pulled into the gravity of a planet, and for the first time in your life you experience gravity, that just constant weight on you that's never ending. That would probably be kind of like hell. But we don't give a fuck because we were born in gravity. And that's the same way in hell. Yeah, it would be pretty fucking bad for a little while, but then you get used to it. You just say, yep, well, we just burn forever. I don't give a fuck. I'm here forever. But the difference is that in heaven, you just do nothing for the rest of eternity, and that sounds fucking boring. But in hell, there's whores, and you can do cocaine. A tree fell on my mother's house the other day, and she was over at my house talking about stuff, and she made some offhand comment about how we were a real family. I would have offered to let her come stay at my house. And you'd think that's kind of a fucked up thing to say to your kid, but I was just like, yeah, you're right. It was like she was talking, it was as if she was talking to me about that bitch at work and what she did the other day. And I was just kind of like, yeah, Kathy is a bitch. It was just that was a sort of response that I gave to it. It was just like, you're right. I really don't want you living at my house. One of the criticisms that I've heard about Swagger Says is that I'm not making a point about anything. There's no punchline. What you have to understand is this is not stand up. The point of Swagger Says is just for me to sit down on the couch and talk about things that I think are fucking stupid. I'm not here to channel Jimmy Carr. I'm not here to tell you what the ocean said to the beach. I don't give a fuck what the ocean said. I'm here to tell you why the ocean is a dumb motherfucking piece of shit. It needs to shut the fuck up and stop talking to me. My mother tried to tell me that Trump was the most persecuted person in America right now. I said, Mom, what the fuck are you talking about? Trump's rich. He doesn't give a fuck about you. He's not being persecuted by anyone. I think that motherfucker took a pay cut to become president. I don't know what he was making before, but it's probably a hell of a lot more than what the president makes. She asked me, what do you think is the most persecuted people in America? I said, probably Native Americans. Because we came in this motherfucker in the 1800s, and they were just sitting there, and they taught the settlers how to grow crops and shit. And then once they did that, we were like, yo, thanks for teaching us how to do that. Take these blankets. And then we accidentally killed half of those motherfuckers with smallpox. And then later, we're like, yo, can you help us fight off the British with the French? And they're like, yo, we got your back, even though you killed half of us with smallpox. It's not a problem, because you gave us alcoholism. So it's all cool. So we fucking fought off the British. And then we were like, yo, thanks for helping us fight off the British. But we're gonna take your land now. They're like, why would you do that? I said, because we want it. And so we just took all their fucking land. And then 100 years later, we're like, yo, sorry about killing half your race and taking all your land. Have some land back. And then we gave them little Indian reservations as like an act of charity. And now they're just sort of a novelty. It's like, hey, let's go to the fucking Cherokee Reserve and check out the fucking Native Americans. And they're all like welfare queens now, living off the government and shit. Native Americans are fucked. That's like, if you were playing D&D, that would be the race that you would avoid completely, because they just have the worst racial background of any other fucking race. Like, you start with alcoholism and welfare checks and shit. I mean, this is not a optimized race for any class at all, unless there's a firewater shaman or some shit like that just loses all his land and dies of smallpox or something. I was kind of thinking about stopping doing this just so that I could spend more time playing video games and masturbating. One of my friends at work was like, yo, why didn't you make a video in the last 4 days? I thought, well, Jesus Christ, man, I took off work so that I could watch porn and read some books. But apparently I have a fucking audience I have to satisfy, which consists of maybe 10 people. So I'm sorry for taking off 4 days trying to eat some fucking ice cream and beat off to anime women. I'm sorry that I can't just do my fucking thing for a little while. I gotta please you, asshole. My mother came over the house and she went in my toilet. She said, wow, this toilet is disgusting. And I said, well, that's the clean one, Mom. The toilet in the other room is even fucking worse. I kept that one clean just for you. So you're welcome for using my toilet in my house that I pay for with my money. You're welcome for that. I did a joke review of The Lord of the Flies. Honestly, it was all right. I didn't think it was, when it came out, I guess it might have been a little shocking, but it's about these kids that get stranded on an island and they revert to savage tribalism. But at the end of the book, only 3 kids were dead. And 2 of them died on accident. It was like, what the fuck? It's like 3 kids die in Chicago every fucking week. Who gives a fuck? There's 3 kids die. Wow, that's a big deal. Apparently, I didn't realize child life was so precious 30 years ago. Don't tell me to smile if you're trying to take a picture of me. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I feel like with my face. Well, you want me to put on a smile so I can immediately go back to not smiling for the rest of the motherfucking day? So you can have a picture of me smiling and just know it's fucking fake for the rest of your goddamn life? My dad is really into genealogy, and he has our fucking family tree tracked all the way back to the first American census. So I'm super fucking white. That's probably why I like black girls so much. It's all that slave owner blood in me. That being said, I did get a DNA test done. And while I am about 80% assorted European flavor of Europeans, I am also 18% Middle Eastern, which would explain why my eyelashes are so long. So someone probably fucked a camel at some point in my family. You remember that Superman movie that came out a couple years ago? I don't remember who played Superman. There was a scene where Superman's dad died, and he ran into a tornado to save his dog. And whether or not you think that's right, that's between you and your feelings. But why didn't he just send his son to go do that? He knew that tornado wasn't gonna do shit. Like, yo, son, you're actually fucking immortal because bullets bounce off of your eyeballs and shit. Why don't you go save the dog out of that car? But instead, he ran into a tornado. Like, your son is God, and you really just ran into a tornado with your son standing right next to you, motherfucker. That was stupid as fuck. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Swagger Says. As always, I'm your host, Swag, and as usual, I'm fucking horny.